Yes, we'll give you permission to enter right away, I said, gesturing to the holographic display, which activated the sensors that read body movement in order to interact with systems. A simple wave gave her clearance, and I could already hear the gates beginning to open on the other side, through the projection, and the woman looked in the direction of the gates as they did. Very well, I'm on my way. I look forward to seeing you, Gabrial, the woman said as she walked out of view of the camera out front of the gates. In no time at all, she had made it to the front door, where Danny was the one who elected to open the door and let her in, following in behind her as she waltzed into the front room carrying that large case of hers, dragging it behind her, standing a bit away from the group but central to the room. A nice open space, you might say. Hello, everyone. It's good to see that you're all well. Our predictions of how events would unfold have been quite accurate. Everything seems to be going according to plan. All variables have been accounted for, and things can now progress, the woman said. There was actually an unnatural cadence to the way she spoke. She spoke more like a holographic display than a regular person. Like a robot imitating a human being, not a human being itself. I could care less about your calculations. Where's my end of the bargain? The doctor said, stepping forward abruptly, out of the group and towards the woman, tilting the hat on his head a bit as he leaned in on his cane, looking at her quite frustratedly, a look of distaste on his face. Be out with it, puppet. Where is it? Aren't you getting a little ahead of yourself, Doc? You know there are other people here, right? I said, stepping out of the group to face down the doctor a bit from the side. Yes, your entire cavalcade of individuals. But I was first in line. And I'm just dying to get the hell out of here before I get dragged into someone else's nonsense again. I have fulfilled my end of the arrangement and would like to get what I was promised and move on. Remember, I'm not your friend. I'm not here because I like you. I'm here because I made a deal for something that I wanted. The deal has been fulfilled. And now, what I was waiting for is at hand. You can feel free to continue your nonsense once I have what I want. Very well, Doctor, the woman said, before I could respond, which was most likely going to be an insult. But she beat me to the punch. I have what was promised to you in the agreement, she said, as she lowered the handle on the case back into its form, laying the case out on the ground and then popping a few latches after taking a scan of her palm against the top of it, after which she opened the case and it appeared to be filled with a myriad of things. From inside of the case, she grabbed two cylindrical objects. They looked a lot like a container that you'd put your coffee in to keep it hot, or your drink in to keep it cold, and matched the size pretty well. However, there was clearly a technological element to them, some sort of advanced technology to it, as you could see bright blue lights running through segments of the outside, pulsating blue energy, and some sort of seal along sections, like locking mechanisms. There are two samples, each of equal proportion. These samples are, of course, of your untainted abilities, and they are yours, as promised. A wicked smile broke out across the doctor's face. "Finally," he said, stepping forward and clasping both of the vials, even putting his cane across one of his arms so he could hold them both. "Perfect," he said, that wicked smile of his gleaming down at them as if he had just been handed golden idols or something like that. Once again, it just creeped me the hell out. "I'm glad to see that you're happy with your end of the arrangement, Doctor. However, my employer wishes for you to stay and have a chat. He has another agreement to offer." "Oh, well, isn't that too bad for him? I have what I wanted, and thus I'm done with his shenanigans. You can keep the speech and the conversation to yourself. I'll be going," he said, still holding that smile as he began to walk towards the front door. "You know, they won't truly return your powers," the woman said, to which the doctor suddenly stopped in his tracks. "We have already tested that idea. Based on all of our tests and analysis, which were conducted over an exceptionally long period of time and using every resource and avenue available, no matter how you use those containers, you will not be able to fully restore your abilities." "What?" the doctor said, turning around, now an absolutely livid expression on his face, like he felt like killing her right there and then. "Do not misunderstand. The vials are not useless. Your body will be able to absorb the energy within the containers, and for so long as the energy itself holds, and you do not expend it, you will regain access to your magical abilities, up into the threshold of the amount of magical power you received. However, it is a dwindling pool. Once the amount that has been given to you has been expended, you will no longer be able to use magic once again." The doctor began to grit his teeth, grinding them a bit as he stared at the woman. "And you knew it the whole time, didn't you?" "Yes, from the very moment that we made the initial deal. We knew that the vials would not be able to restore your power. They were, however, a tempting enough offer to get you to cooperate. Your talents, capabilities, and skill sets, knowledge, are exceptionally useful and valuable. Your predilection to survive even the most difficult of circumstances is next to irreplaceable. It is something that we need on our side. And so, even though we knew this information, we withheld it, knowing that if you did not at least believe that it was possible that the containers themselves would surmount to returning your abilities altogether, you might not have seen them as profitable enough to invest your time." "So basically you played me," the doctor said, growling in the woman's direction. Once again, this time with new heightened senses, I was sure of it beyond all reason. There in the back of his eyes, I could see a dim red glow, like the light of a fire burning, and a look of absolute murderous intent on his face. "Please don't misunderstand, Doctor. This is also the reason that I requested that you stay, and that my employer speak to you. You see, the next part of our arrangement, the deal that he wishes to offer you, will result in the complete restoration of your magical abilities. You'll return to normal and regain everything that you lost in its entirety. We can, of course, tell you exactly how to do so. That is, if you decide it's still worth having a conversation about." For a few moments, the doctor stood there, looking a mix of interested and angry, before finally sighing a bit, rolling his eyes. Fine. I suppose there's no other alternative. I'll hear your bargain. I suppose getting played a patsy for a short time is just something I'll have to deal with for the moment. But you can tell your master we're not done with this conversation. Well, you can tell him yourself, once the meeting begins, the woman said. I could see a slight smile on her face, knowing that she got one over on the doctor apparently made her a little happy, as the doctor walked back and took his place back within the group, leaning against the back of one of the couches, keeping both of the new containers firmly within his grasp.